Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling the North African ground squirrel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you guys sent in some fascinating research.
Okay.
A 2018 article titled Expansion of the North African Ground Squirrel, Atlantoxerus getulus, rodentia, along the Moroccan mid-Atlantic plains.
Sounds like these squirrels are on the move.
It does, and the study hints at some big implications.
Like what?
Well, for the ecosystem, but also for human health.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable for, just a squirrel.
It is. It seems like there's a lot more to these little guys than meets the eye.
I agree. It really is a real-time ecological drama playing out.
And thankfully, these researchers have captured some really remarkable findings.
About this species, Atlantoxerus getulus.
That's the one.
All right, well, before we even get into their big move,
Right.
let's give our listeners some background, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what's the deal with this squirrel? Where do they usually hang out?
Exactly. Paint us a picture.
Well, Atlantoxerus getulus is what we call endemic to Northwest Africa.
Endemic, so like...
This is their native territory.
Gotcha.
You'll find them commonly in Morocco and Algeria.
Yep.
Typically in those rocky, mountainous terrains like the Atlas Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But here's something interesting.
Oh.
While they're not officially documented in Tunisia or Libya,
Okay.
there have been sightings of them in pet shops.
Pet shops.
Yeah, in Biskra, Algeria.
Really? That's unexpected. I mean, could that be a clue to how they're spreading?
It's a real possibility. The pet trade, even unintentionally,
Right.
can be a pathway for a species to move beyond their natural range.
Interesting. Something to think about as we unpack the rest of this.
For sure, for sure.
Okay, so we've got these squirrels in pet shops, which already says something about their adaptability, right?
It does, yeah.
But this study is focused on a particular expansion.
Right.
So fill us in.
Okay, well, the research really zeroes in on a northward expansion along Morocco's central Atlantic plains. And the speed at which this is happening is remarkable.
Okay.
This is not some gradual shift, over centuries.
Right.
This has happened in the last decade.
Really?
And even more recently, in the past 2 to 4 years, it's become really prominent.
Wow.
They've literally jumped their northern boundary 50 kilometers.
50 kilometers. That's a significant leap.
It is.
So, I mean, were they always there, just in smaller numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this a true invasion?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out.
Okay.
But local reports suggest this is a new thing,
Oh,
a
yeah.
surge in their population.
So it really is like they suddenly decided to explore and conquer new territory.
Yeah, conquer, that's a good word for it.
It is. Where exactly are they setting up camp in this new territory?
You're not going to find them building nests in trees or anything like that.
Okay.
The study uncovered a fascinating preference. Believe it or not, low walls.
Low walls.
Yeah. Almost half the squirrel sightings were along these low walls.
Oh.
Often, those bordering agricultural fields.
So like the kind of charming stone walls you see crisscrossing the countryside.
That's right. And it's not just walls. They've been seen in abandoned quarries, rock piles,
Oh, wow.
even coastal cliffs and old reservoirs.
So really, anywhere with a bit of rock and some cover?
It seems that way.
So it sounds like they're drawn to these rocky landscapes.
Yeah.
But they also seem perfectly content in these human-modified environments.
Right. It makes you wonder if our activities might be contributing to their expansion,
Yeah, providing new pathways, new habitats.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that we're all connected, even with these seemingly insignificant creatures.
I agree.
Okay, well, let's talk about what they're eating in this new environment.
Okay.
Are they raiding gardens, bird feeders? What are they up to?
Their diet is pretty diverse. The study found them eating all sorts of things.
Like what?
Wild plants, cereals, vegetables.
Okay, standard squirrel fare.
Right, but then also fruits like figs, olives, even prickly pear cactus.
So enjoying all the local produce.
They are. But here's the twist.
What's that?
They've been observed eating chicken eggs.
Hold on, chicken eggs.
Yeah.
I thought squirrels were herbivores.
That's the common perception.
Right.
But it seems Atlantoxerus getulus might be more omnivorous than we initially thought.
So maybe this dietary flexibility is another factor in their ability to thrive in all these different places.
Could be. If you're not picky about what you eat, you're more likely to find something.
Especially in a new environment.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing that this fondness for chicken eggs isn't making them very popular with local farmers.
You're right. The research even notes that farmers are starting to report crop damage from these squirrels.
Well, a booming squirrel population, an appetite for anything,
Right.
and they're living right next to your crops, That's not a good combination.
It's not.
Sounds like we're starting to see the ripple effects of this expansion already.
We are, and it shows why it's important to understand this squirrel's journey. It's
Yeah.
not just some quirky wildlife story.
Right.
It's a window into how ecosystems work and how changes in one species can affect everyone else, including us.
Okay, so they're adaptable, they're on the move,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll eat just about anything, even if it ruffles a few feathers.
Yeah.
But what else did the study reveal about their success? I mean, are they good at, well, making more squirrels?
They are. Researchers observed pregnant and lactating females in the new area.
Oh, wow.
So they're not just surviving, they're reproducing.
Oh,
They're establishing themselves.
It seems like they're really settling in for the long haul.
It does.
Okay, so they're expanding, they're reproducing, making themselves right at home.
Uh-huh.
But they're not doing this solo, are they? The study also mentioned something about their social structure.
Oh, yes. They observed both simple groups consisting of a female and her young,
Okay.
and then more complex groups with multiple males, females, and young.
Oh, interesting.
It suggests, a level of social complexity that we don't usually think of with ground squirrels.
So it's not just every squirrel for themselves.
It seems.
Huh. So I wonder if these different group dynamics are playing a role in their success.
It's very possible.
I mean, living in groups, that gives you advantages, right?
Of course, yeah.
Like more vigilance against predators,
Yeah,
cooperative foraging, maybe even shared care for the young.
like a little squirrel support system.
Yeah, exactly. But it can't all be smooth sailing, can it? What about predators? Is anything trying to keep this squirrel population in check?
Well, you'd think so. In other parts of Morocco, they're prey for Bonelli's eagles, foxes, genets.
Oh, so the usual suspects.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
What's that?
In this newly expanded area,
Yeah.
predation seems to be minimal.
Minimal.
Even domestic cats,
Really?
which you'd think would be natural squirrel hunters.
Right.
They don't seem to be having much of an impact.
Wow, even cats are giving these squirrels a pass. That's surprising.
It is. Researchers are looking into this, but it seems like the predator-prey dynamics in this new environment
Yeah.
might be different. Yeah. Maybe the predators haven't caught up to this influx of squirrels yet.
Right, so they've found a temporary safe haven, plenty of food, safe places to live, not a lot of predators to worry about.
Right. Sounds like a recipe for success.
It does. But of course, we can't forget about the other big player in this story.
Who's that?
Humans.
Ah, yes. That's where things get a bit more serious.
Okay.
Because the research raises questions about the potential impact on human health.
Oh, okay. Let's unpack that. What kind of risks are we talking about here?
This study raises concerns about zoonotic diseases.
Zoonotic, for our listener, what does that even mean?
Basically, a disease that can spread from animals to humans.
Okay.
And Atlantoxerus getulus is known to carry parasites and diseases.
Right.
In their native range, it's not as much of an issue.
Yeah.
Because the local populations have built up some immunity.
I see.
But as these squirrels move into new areas,
Uh-huh.
they're coming into contact with populations who have never encountered these things before.
So it's like introducing a new bug into a system with no defenses.
Exactly. And that's why the study recommends awareness programs.
To educate people about the risks. Right.
That's right.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does.
It's easy to get caught up in, the ecological puzzle of this expansion.
Sure.
But we can't forget about the potential consequences for us.
We can't. It shows how deeply interconnected we are with the natural world.
Yeah?
And to understand the scale of this, the study points to another example
Oh.
of Atlantoxerus getulus on the move,
Right.
the Canary Islands.
The Canary Islands. That's quite a distance from Morocco.
It is. But back in 1965,
Okay.
the squirrel was introduced to the Canary Islands, and
Yeah.
it quickly spreads
Ah.
despite eradication efforts.
Eradication efforts. So they tried to get rid of him,
They did.
but the squirrels persisted.
Yes. So this shows just how adaptable Atlantoxerus getulus can be.
As an invasive species.
Yeah, it's not just about expanding in its native range.
Right.
It can thrive in completely new environments.
Okay, so we've got a species that's not just expanding, but potentially causing crop damage, carrying diseases.
Uh-huh.
And now we're learning they've invaded other areas in the past.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm eager to hear what else the study found about their behavior,
Yeah.
and what it all means for the bigger picture.
There's a lot more to uncover. Let's get into those details next. You know those low walls we talked about?
Yeah.
The researchers noticed something interesting about how the squirrels were using them.
Oh, really? You mentioned that like half the sightings were along those walls.
Almost half, yeah.
So are they just like hanging out there, or is there more to it?
It's more than just a hangout spot.
Oh.
The study suggests they might be using them as pathways.
Pathways, really?
Yeah, like squirrel highways, crisscrossing the landscape.
Huh. Squirrel highways, I like that.
They even included pictures in the article,
Whoa.
showing the squirrels perched perfectly on these walls,
Wow.
blending right in.
So we've basically built them these perfect little pathways
We have.
right through their new territory. I mean, it really shows how even our simplest actions can have these unforeseen consequences.
Exactly. And it's not just walls, those quarries, those piles of rocks.
Right.
They're all unintentional habitats that we've created.
And the squirrels are taking advantage
They are. It's
Yeah.
really remarkable how they adapt.
and exploit the resources, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to that lack of predation.
Mm-hmm.
Any new insights on why they're dodging their usual enemies?
It's still a puzzle, but the researchers have some theories.
Okay.
One possibility is that the predators just haven't caught up to this sudden influx of squirrels yet.
Oh, so like they've stumbled into this predator-free buffet.
Yeah.
I mean, that would certainly explain the population boom.
It would, yeah.
Okay, what's the other theory?
Well, it could be the landscape itself.
Oh, okay.
All those walls, those rock piles,
Oh.
they offer a lot of hiding places.
So it's harder for the eagles and the foxes to hunt them.
Much harder.
So the same things that help them travel are also helping them hide.
It seems that way.
But I mean, this can't last forever, can it?
You're right. It's likely a temporary advantage.
Okay.
As the population grows, it'll probably attract more predators.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out over time.
It will.
It's like this ecological game of catch-up.
It is. But, this adaptability isn't just about the physical environment.
Right, this study also talked about those social structures,
Right, those different group dynamics.
the simple family units, and the more complex groups.
Exactly.
So how does that complexity contribute to their success?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
More eyes to watch out for danger.
Less vulnerable to predators.
Exactly. And it helps them cooperate when they're foraging for food.
So increasing their chances of finding something to eat.
Yeah, and with the multifamily groups, they might even be sharing the care of young.
Oh, wow. So it frees up time for, foraging and other things. Like
Exactly.
they've created this little squirrel community.
Yeah, they have. Supporting each other and increasing their chances of survival.
But I imagine living in those close quarters also has downsides.
It could.
I mean, more competition for resources, maybe even spreading diseases.
Those are good points.
The study didn't really go into the negatives too much,
It didn't, no.
but it's definitely something to consider.
I agree.
I mean, even beneficial adaptations have trade-offs.
It's all about finding that balance.
Right. Maximizing the good and minimizing the bad.
Exactly.
But this whole discussion about their adaptability, their social behavior, it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
is Atlantoxerus ketulus unique in this way?
The researchers addressed that.
They did.
They compared Atlantoxerus getulus to other squirrel species that have become invasive.
So there's like a whole group of squirrely invaders out there.
There is. And they found some interesting similarities.
Like what? What are the common threads? What makes them so good at this?
Well, one of the biggest things is their ability to eat all kinds of foods.
Oh, right. That dietary flexibility.
Yeah, it's a common trait.
It's like they're programmed to survive anywhere.
Right. It gives them such an advantage.
Makes sense. And along with their flexible palates,
Yeah.
they also tend to have high reproductive rates.
That's right. They're good at making more squirrels.
No wonder they can establish themselves so quickly.
Exactly. And here's another interesting parallel.
Okay.
They show a real tolerance for those human-modified landscapes.
We've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, this tolerance, maybe even preference, really sets them apart.
Yeah, I mean, they thrive in places that other species wouldn't.
Right. It's almost like they figured out that humans can make life easier for them in a way.
Yeah, more food, more shelter, fewer predators.
Exactly. But this adaptability, as fascinating as it is,
Yeah.
also raises concerns.
Right, it brings us back to those potential impacts on biodiversity.
Yes, their success could come at the expense of other species.
Yeah, the ones competing for the same resources.
Or the ones that they might prey on.
So Atlantoxerus getulus, it's more than just one species on the move.
It is.
It's about ecological change, ripple effects,
Human actions, yeah.
and managing that delicate balance of nature.
Perfectly put. And there's still more to this story. Let's explore that next.
We've talked about how adaptable they are, but what does that mean for the other species in their ecosystem? Could this expansion be bad for biodiversity?
It's definitely a concern.
Yeah.
When a species expands this quickly, there's always a risk of disrupting the balance.
Right.
And the
Mhm.
researchers were especially worried about the impact on birds.
Makes sense. I mean, we've seen they'll eat chicken eggs,
Yeah,
and I imagine they could be competing with birds for food, too.
exactly. Their diet is so diverse.
That-
They could be competing with birds that rely on the same resources.
And if they're outcompeting the birds for food or nesting sites,
Yeah.
that could lead to a decline in bird populations, and that could have a ripple effect on the whole food web.
It's like a domino effect.
One species' success triggers a chain reaction.
Right, and we might not even see it coming.
Exactly. So how do we mitigate those risks?
That's a good question.
I mean, can we balance the needs of this growing squirrel population
Yeah.
with the need to protect the biodiversity of the area?
It's tough, but it goes back to those recommendations we talked about.
Oh, wow.
Monitoring, educating people, and managing their habitats.
Great.
If we track their movements, understand how they interact with other species,
Right.
and manage their populations carefully,
Yeah.
we can hopefully minimize the negative impacts.
It's all about finding that sweet spot,
It is.
right, where they can exist without taking over
Exactly.
and disrupting that balance.
Right.
But this isn't just a local issue, is it? I mean, we're seeing species moving all over the planet,
We are.
often because of climate change.
Yeah.
Could climate change be playing a role in Atlantoxerus getulus' expansion?
It's possible. Researchers are just starting to look into that.
Okay.
The study doesn't have conclusive evidence yet,
Right.
but it suggests that climate change could be a factor. I mean, as temperatures rise and weather patterns change,
Yeah.
it creates opportunities for species to expand their ranges.
And Atlantoxerus getulus could be taking advantage of that.
It could.
It's a good reminder that we can't isolate these events.
We can't.
The squirrel's journey is connected to these larger trends,
It is like climate change.
and that makes it even more complex.
It does. It shows how interconnected these challenges are
Yeah.
and that we need to find solutions that address everything.
I can't just deal with the species invasions.
Right.
We have to address the root causes, like climate change.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From their diet and social structures
Yeah.
to the lack of predators and their potential to become invasive. We talked about the impact on biodiversity
Yeah.
and the role of climate change.
It's a lot.
It is. So for our listener, what's the takeaway? Why should we care about a squirrel on the move in some far-off corner of the world?
That's a good question. I think there are a few important lessons here.
Okay.
First, it's a reminder that we live in a connected world.
Right.
Our actions, even small ones, can have ripple effects.
Like building those walls, that gave them the perfect pathway.
Exactly. So we need to be more mindful of our impact.
I see.
The second lesson is about adaptability.
Right. Atlantoxerus getulus shows just how powerful that can be.
It does. They can adjust to new environments,
Yeah.
find new resources, thrive even when things are tough.
And that's not unique to them.
It's not. We're seeing that everywhere.
As species respond to these changes in their environments.
Right. And the final lesson here is about understanding these ecological interactions.
So we can make good decisions, right?
Exactly.
Right.
About conservation, public health.
A relationship with nature.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of this web of life,
And that our actions have consequences.
intended or not.
So even a squirrel's journey can teach us something about the challenges we face.
It can, and the opportunities too,
Yeah, it makes us think critically.
about our impact on the world.
And how everything is connected.
That's right.
Well, there you have it. The tale of Atlantoxerus getulus, the squirrel on the move.
On the move.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
We did.
And who knows, maybe it'll even inspire you to pay more attention to the squirrels in your own backyard.
They might have a story to tell too.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on this adventure.
Thanks for listening.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah?
So let us know what you think. And until next time,
Until next time.
keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the wonders of our world.